So it's either pick
well, it's not really showing. Can we look at it, see if it's
Similar problems, huh?
it's okay.
They're
It's not what, we don't have much over here.
She does.
Birch, you have a Sharpie? Sharpie?
I do.
First, you got
She does.
No, I didn't. I have a resignation.
See the bag. You know, I'm missing Brandon here, so tomorrow I just want to. I know. No, I'm not my granddaughter.
I haven't done it, so.
That's true.
We were on the beach in Outbanks the first time, an old family in the house. My mom was there. He goes up and says, "Grandma's day." Grandma's married. I think that was actually with grandma. It's very bad.
Where was this?
Outbanks.
Yeah.
Exit.
Nice.
That's it.
Go.
Yeah, you're.
And then copy that. You.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Those guys out there, he's there.
Good. Yeah, anytime transfer.
We did that.
Oh, yeah. Doesn't seem to matter. Point is strong.
No, that's good. I get these 3 pieces tomorrow.
Oh, turn the sound up. Okay.
This is to impeach one of the detectives.
The one that said that,
Which one's the one?
you know, offhand, I don't remember if it was Worsinski or one of the others. But it's also to establish what our defense goes to, that it was a rush to judgment.
It's hard to challenge the authenticity, to be honest with you. So I can't really make any arguments as to that. Whether it's material impeachment,
Yeah, I don't see how it hurts you guys. It just happens to coincide with what I was trying. The judge didn't even believe there was one. We shall know what the one.
Well, if I can, like, first I heard of it was when you said it, and you showed it to me on your phone.
Yeah. I only remember it because I remember seeing it.
You know how long it is?
Not long at all. It ends, and it probably has a time on there.
It doesn't tell me how long it is, but
I think it's like 2 minutes, 2.5, if I'm right. The very day they were arrested, the next day.
So the 25th?
4th,
I think it says it in the very beginning.
Oh, it does?
Okay.
Okay. Are you pulling it from here, or are you?
It's not from here, just in case she wants to steal.
No,
I wouldn't enter it into evidence. The only thing I would do is publish it. If she wants me to.
All right, please. Circuit court is back in session.
Sorry, I had to take care of something. Okay, all the jurors are back? All right, you guys ready? I think so, Judge. All right,
Judge, we've got
First,
three
Deloitte.
okay,
lined up.
all right.
Well, we're trying to contact where it's in that same boat.
It's always colder in here after lunch, isn't it?
I'll wait.
Judge, the jurors are present.
Deputy Birch, do you want to come over here a sec? Okay. All right, raise your right hand, please, everybody. You swear or affirm to tell the truth? Okay, thank you. Put your hand down. Please raise your hand if you got any regarding this case over the recess. I'm going to try to get the temperature in the room a little bit warmer. I like it cold, but it started a whole new level of cold. So if you get too hot or too cold, let me know. I have limited control of this, but I'm working on it, okay? All right, State, you may call your next witness.
Yes, Judge, the state of Florida called Robert Schock.
Right here, sir. Right here, take the oath of the court, raise your right hand and repeat the oath.
Do swear or affirm that testimony about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Thank you. Step this way. Have a seat, speak in a loud and clear voice to the court.
I don't see Mr. Camerino. Is it okay if we proceed?
Yes, Judge, Mr. Camerino should be back shortly. But
Okay.
we can proceed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Trevina. You may go ahead, Mr. Labruzzo.
Good afternoon, sir. Could you please turn to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, introduce yourself by stating your name?
Robert Michael Schock.
And Mr. Schock, where do you work?
I'm an investigator for the State Attorney's Office here in the Sixth Circuit,
And how long have you worked for the State Attorney's Office?
approximately 12 years.
And prior to that, where did you work?
I was with the St. Petersburg Police Department for 25 years.
And what did you do for them?
The end result for the last 13, I was with the homicide unit of the St. Pete Police Department.
Okay. I'd like to ask you some questions about what's can be recalled as a jail call. As an investigator with the State Attorney's Office, have you had an opportunity to familiarize yourself with the telephone system that's maintained over at the Pinellas County Jail?
Yes, I went to a class provided by the Sheriff's Department and learned how the system works, and was able to be one of the 2 investigators here that functioned by downloading, listening to, and anything associated with the jail call system.
Okay. Is the jail call system, it's operated by, or software from a company called Global Tellink?
Yes, I know it as GTL.
Okay. And from time to time, you're called on to search for certain phone calls?
Yes, we have 2 computer systems in our offices. We have 2 separate offices with 2 computer systems. They act the same, and I do it quite frequently.
Okay. So it's, as part of your job, a state attorney may tell you a particular person, and you would go and look to see if calls were made under that person's.
It will either be through a case I'm involved in, associated with, I could do it on my own, or I would get directed by an assistant state attorney to look at calls.
All right. And as part of your job, or when you go searching for these calls, are you able to receive printouts that maybe will be a detail of the calls made for a particular person on a particular day?
We can print out what we call a call detail report of a specific group of calls.
All right. And just for the purposes of searching for calls, are you able to search for a call based on, we'll call it a destination number? Someone in the jail calls puts a phone number in, a destination number for where it's supposed to go. Is that a way to search for a phone call?
That is one of the ways to do that.
All right. Again, I'm sure we explain a little later, but as far as a person who is in the jail, can you search for a call based on that person?
Yes.
And were you called upon in this case, as it relates to the homicide involving Mr. Griffin, to search for specific calls?
As a part of my job assignment, I'm also involved with homicides relating to the State Attorney's Office. I do not know if I particularly looked at this one or I was directed to, but it was back in 2010.
Okay. For the record, Your Honor, I'm showing defense counsel what's been marked as State's Exhibits 49 and 51. Sean, I would first like to show you what's been marked for identification as State's Exhibit number 49. You recognize that?
This is a call detail report.
And what call is it detailing?
This call is detailing a call from booking, and it's the date is 10/24/2010. The time is 10:08, 33 hours. The duration of the call length is 2 minutes and 17 seconds. The printout gives the PIN number of the person that called from the jail and the destination number that the call went to, as well as the phone that was inside the pod, we call it the pod, that person would have used.
Okay. And can you tell us what destination, well, first of all, do you recognize that by any signature or markings that you made on that?
When I print this out, I put that it is a printout of the jail call. Of this particular one is Jennifer Me with her PIN number and the date of the call, and then I initial it of when I printed it out. This one was 9/16/13.
Okay. I'd also like to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 51 for identification. Take a second to look at that. You recognize the disc and the envelope for which it came in.
Yes, this is my handwriting. I put it on both the disc and the envelope in case during the course of time an attorney might remove it. They can always find and put it back together. It has, again, a jail call from Jennifer Me with her docket number, which is the same as a PIN number. My initials, the date I downloaded the call, and the date of the call. And in this particular case, the phone number on it is the station number or pod number that she called from.
Okay.
I also put it on the envelope, pretty much identical.
All right. Mr. Schock, talking specifically about State's Exhibit 49, the piece of paper, you mentioned, well, I guess at this time the judge, well, I apologize. Mr. Schock, are you knowledgeable as to whether or not these are kept in the ordinary course of business as it relates to the jail call system over at the jail?
I believe so.
All right. Judge, at this time, the state would seek to admit State's Exhibit 49 as such.
Any objection?
Your Honor, may we approach?
Mm-hmm. Okay. As I've said before, from time to time, matters come up that I need to address outside your hearing, and this is one of those. So you may go back to the jury room. I don't think this will be a terribly long break. And if it turns out that it's going to be longer than I think, I'll send the bailiff back and let you go downstairs or something. But I don't think it'll be too bad. Thank you.
Judge, the jury, I didn't remember.
Thank you, Deputy Birch. Okay, Mr. Labruzzo, Mr. Trevina has asked that we play the tape, and I've agreed to listen to the tape.
Judge, just so the record's clear, there is State's Exhibit number 51, which I've discussed with this witness. It's the original call for which he downloaded. We had it converted to what's called a wave format so that it'll play in a speaker system so that the jury could ultimately, if they requested to take it back, they wouldn't need the actual player for this. In an abundance of caution, the state intends on admitting both copies into the evidence,
Okay,
and witnesses will testify that they're the same. Just so the court's aware of where we're
right,
going.
okay. So is it marked like, are they marked?
They are.
And that, what would they be called?
State's Exhibit 51 is the original call downloaded by Mr. Schock.
Right,
State's Exhibit 50 is the copy of that call converted to WAV format.
okay. So we're going to hear it on WAV format, but it's the same tape call that Mr. Schock downloaded?
Yes.
Right, right, okay, very good.
Global Telling. This call may be recorded or monitored. I have a free call from
For me.
an inmate at Pinellas County Jail. If you wish to accept this call, dial 0 and hold. To refuse, dial 5 and hang up. To block inmate calls, dial 7. Thank you.
Hello.
Hello?
Baby.
Yep.
Is mommy up?
No, she's on the bed. What now did you do? Be in jail.
I got charged with murder.
What you do?
I got charged for murder in the first degree.
Charged for murder in the first degree.
Yes, sir.
What time did you, who did you kill?
I didn't do nothing. I was just there at the wrong time, at the wrong place, and I got caught up in it.
So when did all this happen?
It took place last night, and the police found me today and arrested me today. I'm just...
Well, Justin, get your mother up for a minute. Hold on.
Hello? Hi, Mama.
Hello, Jennifer, what's going on?
I'm in jail.
Why are you in jail?
Murder in the first degree.
Who'd you kill?
I ain't kill nobody.
Well, then how are they charging you with attempted murder?
Because I set everything up. It all went wrong, but shit just went downhill after everything happened, Mom.
Who are you trying to kill, Jennifer?
Nobody. It wasn't even supposed to happen like that, Mom.
Well, something happened, obviously, Jennifer, if you're in jail.
Okay, listen, okay. Me, Martin, and Ron, all right. The dude off my mobile space talking about he want to have, all right? So I told him to come meet me over at the park where he used to stay at. And the boys brought him into the little alley thing, and the Ron pulled the gun out on him. And the guy went to go reach for the gun and pull the barrel, and Mom,
Go.
call you when I can because I gotta go. Mommy's trying to make visitation, please.
When is visitation, Jennifer?
You gotta call in the morning and make one.
Where are you at, Clearwater Jail?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Jennifer, I love you.
I love you too, Mom.
All right, bye.
That concludes the call, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Labruzzo. Okay, so, Mr. Trevina objected to the tape, and then you hadn't moved to admit the tape yet. You said you weren't going to try to admit it through Mr. Schock. You were just helping lay the foundation, but you didn't want me to rule on 49, which was, what did we call it? Let me get it right.
All detail.
Right, call detail report, I got it. Until we ruled on the phone call. So that's where we are on the evidence. All right, Mr. Trevina, I'll be happy to hear your argument, sir.
Your Honor, the first round would be relevancy. It is not tantamount to an admission against interest sufficient such that it should be introduced into this case, particularly considering ground 2 of the objection, that any probative value of that recording is substantially outweighed by the prejudicial effect of playing that recording to the jury. It says very little, the recording, and it's of great concern to me. Now, if I may have one moment.
Mm-hmm.
One other concern I have, Judge, is this is the free call that an inmate gets upon their arrest. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the normal admonition against anything you say may be recorded in this call, I don't recall hearing that. I heard the Global Tel link you have a free call from and a period of silence. Under Florida law, to record a conversation, it either has to be the beep, which I heard no beeping, or there has to be a oral verbal warning indicating that the phone call is being recorded, which the court and I have heard probably hundreds, if not over 1,000 of these calls in the course of many years of practice, Judge. And they always have the repeated warning, even throughout the call. This call may be monitored. This call may be monitored.
Well, I don't recall hearing it all throughout the call. I don't know what the circumstances are around that.
Judge, I'd like to replay it to hear that part. I think it does say that. If it doesn't, I can't say if Mr. Shaw can testify to that, but I'm certain Mr. Delora can testify to what is exactly before the call picks up and to the postings in the booking area as it relates to that.
Well, back in the old days, before they used to have it on the actual call, all we had were the postings. And it's been a long time since I've been in the booking area of the jail, so I don't know what is there, and I don't know the circumstances surrounding these calls. Like, are they made right in front of somebody else so that you're basically making the admission to anybody that's around you? I don't know that either. So let me address the other issues first. It is absolutely an admission against interest. It is, of course, very prejudicial to me, and I understand if I was you, I'd object too, Mr. Trevina, but this on the probative versus prejudicial effect, yes, it's prejudicial, but the probative value way outweighs the prejudicial effect. And it is absolutely an admission against interest and should come in. I have no question about that. Now, I will let you do what you need to do so we can see if the appropriate foundation has been laid, whatever that takes. So we can play it from the beginning. I did not hear that at the very beginning, but then I think booking is a separate place than where they're usually talking on the phone, so I don't know. So as far as 49, did you want me to go ahead and handle that now or want to wait still?
I'd rather handle that now, Judge.
Okay, so 49, which is the call, make me get it, call detail report, I will admit.
And Your Honor, just for the record, we do object to the admission of that document because for that document to even be relevant to the case, the call would then have to be admitted, and we don't know yet.
Okay, I'm asking Mr. Labruzzo if he wants it in now or if he wants to wait. He said he wants it in now. Based on what I have in front of me right now, I'm going to admit it. So there you go. Thank you. All right, now, I guess I should admit it in front of the jury, but maybe nobody cares. But okay.
Judge,
All right.
I can proffer this with Mr. Schock. I know he's been here through most of this, but
Right.
as to the issue,
Okay.
Mr. Schock, are you aware if on these calls, do they warn the individual making the call that the call is being recorded?
I believe if you play it again, the very first thing you hear is this is called from GTL. This call may be recorded.
Well, maybe
I
it was
believe.
there and I missed it. Why don't you
It's
play
at the very beginning, and
again?
then there's a pause, and then there's something further, I believe.
Okay.
Global Tel link. This call may be recorded
Oh,
or
there it
monitored.
is. I missed
have
it.
a free-
Okay, well, I missed it, you missed it, Mr. Trevina.
And then I can also answer a question that he had about the 5-minute mark.
Okay, go ahead, sure, it's a
That used
proper.
to be, again, it was 5 minutes. This call is not 5 minutes, but I think they, and Mr. Ed Delore could explain, I think they have done away with that every 5 minutes, providing that.
Okay.
But in the old days, it was about maybe 5 to 10 minutes, but again, this call is too short for that.
Right, okay, all right. So, that part of the objection is also overruled. So should we bring the jury back then? All right,
Well, Judge, we may be able to expedite, since the court is going to admit the recording over.
well, I don't think you're asking me to admit it with this witness, are you?
No,
Or are
but what
you?
I'm
Not
saying
yet, but-
is I can stipulate to custodians and things of that nature rather than bring a number of witnesses
Okay.
into.
And what about this, which is a common thing, whether it's from the police department or the jail, that we get two different recording systems, and so to make it congruent with the equipment we have in court, it lots of times has to be transferred to a new, I'll call it format, because I'm not very literate
correct.
about those things. Ooh, that's a good guess. All right, so, did you have any objection to that?
I may have missed that, Judge.
Mr. Schock downloaded the one off the system GTL at the jail. That system is not congruent with the little recorders that we use in court that could go back with the jury.
No.
So within, I assume, the state attorney's office, Mr. Labruzzo.
Yes, Judge.
It was made into a form, just like sometimes you'll get discs from them and they take them from a police system and give you a copy that'll work for your computer system. So I'm assuming you have no objection to that.
No.
Okay, now how would you like that best? So, Mr. Labruzzo, what I'm understanding is that 51 was the original call, 50 is the one they could actually use.
Yes.
I need to let them both into evidence. We can just explain to them, one was the format from the jail, the other one isn't. We could stipulate, we'll only send the one that they can listen to back, and the clerk will just hold on to the other one because it's useless to them.
Yes.
But I just wanted to know what you all want to do. And then we'll tell the clerk and she'll do it.
Well, only reason I'd like the court to explain it that way is because the copy that they're taking back, in fact, says the word copy on it.
Okay.
So it would kind of just explain.
Okay, so when we admit them both, then you could ask me to explain, and that's my trigger, and I will explain.
Yes.
Okay? All right, very good. All right, now we really are going to bring them back. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Deputy Birch. Mr. Labruzzo?
Judge, at this time, the state would seek to admit State's Exhibit 49 as such.
It's admitted.
Thank you. Mr. Schock, when a call is made at the jail, those calls are recorded, correct?
Yes.
When a person inside the jail makes a phone call, are there certain warnings on the call itself to warn them that these calls are in fact recorded?
Usually there's a recording from GTL explaining that the calls can be recorded
All right. Have you been over to the jail?
many times.
Okay. Have you seen written warnings maybe posted inside the jail that calls can be recorded?
It's been a while, but I've seen it in the past.
Okay. And you had an opportunity to pull a specific phone call from Jennifer Mee, correct?
Yes, sir.
And we talked about, you mentioned the word PIN number, and it's also represented on this call detail report. What is a PIN number?
A PIN number is usually what they call a booking or docket number. When a person is arrested, they were giving that. And then the PIN number is that, and you can put that in, but the PIN number also has 4 additional numbers at the end So you can actually put either one, the booking number or the PIN number in and get the same results.
So if someone is going to make a phone call from the jail, are they required to input their PIN number as part of making the phone call?
I'm not sure how they do it, but it is attached that that person and that PIN number is making that call.
Okay. And I've shown you State's Exhibit 51. This is the call from that you downloaded, and you use specific software to download and play this call, correct?
Yes, I downloaded it. And basically, it's downloaded for the use of a laptop.
Right.
So it's mainly data download into a laptop.
All right. And if you wanted this call played, you'd have to copy it and do something like that, correct?
I copy it, and then you can place it in, and you have to have a certain part of the software that plays that data.
Judge, at this time, the state would seek to admit what's been marked as State's Exhibits 50 and 51.
Anything other than what was previously stated?
Nothing additional, Your
All
Honor.
right, they are both admitted.
Judge, you want to?
Right. So, ladies and gentlemen, I have admitted into evidence 2 copies of the tapes, and we may send them both back with you, or just one. 51 is the one that Mr. Schock downloaded in the jail on the system that was available to him. We often in the court system then have to have tapes put into or discs put into a different format so we can play them for you. And so that is number 50, and so it is also marked as a copy. So when you see that, it matches exactly the one that was downloaded at the jail, but it's been created so that if we could play it in the courtroom, and if you wish to hear it again in the jury room, not that you should or shouldn't, but if you wanted to, you could. Do you understand? Thank you. All right? So they're both admitted.
One moment, Your Honor.
Yes, sir?
Judge, at this time, the state would seek to ask the court for permission to publish State's Exhibit number 50.
Any objection to that at this time other than what you've previously stated?
Nothing additional, Your Honor.
Okay. Yes, you may publish.
Global Telling. This call may be recorded or monitored. I have a free call from
Jen, for me.
an inmate at Pinellas County Jail. If you wish to accept this call, dial 0 and hold. To refuse, dial 5 and hang up. To block inmate calls, dial 7. Thank you.
Hello?
Hello?
Tiffy,
Yep.
is Mommy up?
No, she on the bed. How did you do it? Be in jail.
I got charged with, murder.
What you do?
I got charged for murder in the first degree.
Charged for murder in the first degree.
Yes, sir.
What the hell who did you kill?
I didn't do nothing. I was just there at the wrong time, at the wrong place, and I got caught up in it.
No. So when did all this happen?
It took place last night, and the police found me today and arrested me today. I'm just...
Well, Justin is getting your mother up for on this. Okay.
Hello?
Hi, Mama.
Hello, Jennifer. What's going on?
I'm in jail.
Why are you in jail?
From, murder in the first degree.
Who'd you kill?
I ain't killed nobody.
Well, then how are they charging you with attempted murder?
Because I set everything up. It all went wrong, Mommy. Shit just went downhill after everything happened, Mom.
Who are you trying to kill, Jennifer?
Nobody. It wasn't even supposed to happen.
something happened, obviously Jennifer appeared in jail.
Okay, listen, no, okay. Me, Martin, Lamont, all right. The dude off my local estate talked about he wanted to ask, all right. So I told him to come meet me over at the park where he used to stay at. And the boys brought him into the little alley thing, and Lamont pulled the gun out on him. And the guy went to go reach for the gun and pull the barrel, and Mom, call you when I can because I gotta go. Mom, it's trying to make visitation, please.
What is visitation, Jennifer?
You gotta call in the morning and make one.
Where are you at, Clearwater Jail?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Jennifer, I love you.
I love you too, Mom.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Do we have no further questions of this witness?
All right, thank you. Cross-examination?
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Now, I noticed in that recording that it indicated it was a free telephone call. Would that be the first call that inmates are allowed to use to contact someone when they've been arrested?
That would, and I think it indicates on that call data sheet that it was made from booking, and booking are free calls. Then they get transferred to a certain pod, and then it becomes where the money has to be put on an account.
So after that, those would be collect calls?
Either collect calls through some type of credit card.
Understood. Now, inmates still have the ability to make phone calls after they've been booked, correct?
Yes, sir.
Did you, in your research on Miss Me, see how many phone calls in the past 3 years that she has made from the Pinellas County Jail?
I was not requested to, so no, I did not.
You have no idea?
I have no idea the exact number.
Were you requested to specifically pull this one phone call?
I believe, again, as I stated earlier, that because of my duties as homicide, part of an investigative, that I could have done this one on my own, but then I'm also requested by attorneys to do it too. But being that it was right after the arrest, I might have done this on my own and downloaded and presented it to the attorney.
So you have no independent recollection today whether that was made as a request to you from someone else or whether you on your own initiative decided to record the call?
I don't have any direct, I believe it was on my own initiative, but I don't have any direct.
Okay. Any particular reason that you didn't do the same thing with all the other phone calls?
Judge, I'm objecting. Oh, I withdraw my objection.
Okay. After I do the initial, I then, because of the volume of attorneys we have and the requests I do, I usually wait till I specifically get asked to do things in the future.
So you never took on your own initiative to listen to any other phone calls?
I'm sorry. I believe I did not on this one. I have done others on other people involved in this case.
Okay, but as to Miss Me?
I did not.
So just the one phone call and disregarded all the others?
Yes, sir. I did not do any further.
Now, there's also recordings, if I'm not mistaken, through the visitation, correct?
Visitations, that's a whole separate issue. Visitations also record theirs. And yes, I downloaded some visitations of the people involved in this case.
Did you download any of Miss Me's visitations?
Without checking, but
I'm objecting outside the scope of our direct examination.
Why don't you all approach the bench?
Suffice to say then, sir, that you don't know what other information there may have been in any other phone calls or video visitations, correct?
Same objection.
Okay, you can answer that question.
No, sir, I do not.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you. All right. Redirect, or is he done?
Just one question, Judge.
Okay.
Mr. Schock, you've listened to approximately how many jail calls in your time as an investigator?
Probably over the last 10 years, I would say thousands.
All right.
And when they say listen to, portions of, I download a lot. I listen to some based on cases that I'm working. I turn over CDs without listening to them based on other investigations.
And in those cases that you've investigated or pulled calls, how common is it for you to pull the first phone call that someone makes from jail?
It's usually, in my experience, that if they're going to say anything, it would be at the beginning. So it's quite often that I do that.
Thank you.
Okay. Excused or standby?
He's excused, Judge.
All right, you're free to go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Judge, I'm going to release that other.
All right. Ready for your next witness?
Yes, Judge. This state would call Gary Gibson.
You do swear or affirm that testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Have a seat and speak in a loud and clear voice for the court.
Whenever you're ready.
Good afternoon, sir. Could you please turn to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, introduce yourself by stating your name?
Good afternoon. I'm Gary Thomas Gibson,
Mr. Gibson, where do you work currently?
State Attorney's Office.
And how long have you worked there?
A year and a half.
And in what capacity do you work for them?
I'm an investigator.
All right. Prior to being an investigator with the State Attorney's Office, where did you work?
The City of St. Pete Police Department.
And how long did you work there?
A little over 25 years.
And in your time at the City of St. Petersburg Police Department, I'm sure you had many jobs.
Yes.
At the end of your career, what were you doing?
I was a homicide detective.
And how long were you a homicide detective?
Just short of 20 years.
All right. And did you have an opportunity to participate in an investigation of the death of Shannon Griffin?
Yes, sir.
Let's take a second to talk a little bit about how the City of St. Petersburg Police Department homicide unit works. Okay? Back in 2010, how many detectives were there?
Probably 6 or 7. It was usually about 6 or 7.
And was it common for you guys to work together in a team?
Yes.
Is there someone in charge of the homicide unit?
Yes, Sergeant Skinner was in charge when I was the last person I was in charge in the unit while I was there.
All right. Let's say in 2010 a homicide were to occur. Is someone assigned that case?
Yes.
All right. And what do we call the person who's assigned the case?
Lead detective.
And are there other detectives that work with the lead detective to accomplish other tasks?
Yes, sir.
Like, what other titles would help the lead detective?
There's usually one scene detective, and there's usually 1 or 2 assist detectives that basically we're all kind of interchangeable. It's just up to Sergeant Skinner of who gets the lead, whose turn it is, and who's going to assist.
All right. And in the case of the death of Mr. Griffin, what particular role were you assigned?
I was one of the assist detectives.
All right. And I guess the term really just kind of defines the role. You are assisting whatever needs to get done, correct?
Correct.
That's interviewing witnesses, or collecting evidence, or just general?
It's really the whole gamut. It's usually collecting information and doing interviews. That's what I did a lot of. I had a lot of contacts in the city, so I would gather information and try to produce leads.
Okay, so that's kind of your area, we'll call it, well, what you were known for, be able to work sources and get information.
Correct.
All right. So are you aware, or were you made aware on October the 23rd, that evening, that there was a homicide in the city of St. Petersburg?
Yes, sir.
And you were assigned the role of assist detective,
Yes.
all right? Did you report to the location of where the homicide occurred?
Yes.
Did you go into the crime scene, examine the crime scene, or look at the crime scene?
No, I saw it from a distance. I didn't get right up in the crime scene. I was asked by Sergeant Skinner to start with the interview process with some people that were around, and I knew there was a crime scene detective, so I really didn't want to get involved.
All right. You're looking for information.
Correct.
Did you and Sergeant Skinner follow up on some information based on a driver or a license plate?
Yes.
And did you have an opportunity to meet with a Mr. Douglas Bolden, who was related to Mr. Griffin?
That's correct.
Did you go down to his residence and kind of, I guess what's called as the death notification?
Yes, it was about 3:30 in the morning on the morning of October 24th. Sergeant Skinner and I responded to a north side address, a condominium, and knocked the door and got invited in, explained the circumstance and the death of their loved one, and told them that we'd be investigating it.
You had a conversation with Mr. Bolden, gave you some information about Mr. Griffin, is that correct?
Yes.
You said, well, you mentioned what time it was. What time did you guys finish meeting with Mr. Griffin, do you think?
I say we got there around 3:30, and I'm probably 30 or 40 minutes, usually not any longer than that.
We say 3:30, we're talking about 3:30 a.m.
I'm sorry, yeah, it's 3:30 in the morning.
And this is on the morning of October the 24th, 2010.
That's correct.
I guess it's not uncommon for detectives to work long hours or odd hours.
Both.
Okay. Did you have an opportunity to maybe rest for the evening?
A couple hours.
All right. Did you pick up your investigation the next day?
Yes, I came into work around 11 o'clock in the morning. I was back in St. Pete then, and Detective Warzinski was the lead detective, and got an assignment from him, and basically starting the day trying to get the case moving.
Okay. And did you receive information, or were you requested to go to an apartment up on 89th Avenue North?
Yes.
All right. And did you respond there?
Yes.
As a detective, do you have a marked vehicle, meaning full insignia, or do you have a detective's vehicle that's maybe a little bit more undercover?
Yeah, it's detective. It's an Impala. It has lights, but the average person wouldn't suspect that it was a police car.
This detective's vehicle, does it have a cage on the inside that would allow you to transport particular people?
No, sir. Mine doesn't. Most of them don't.
All right. Do you, as a detective, do you ride alone, or do you have a partner that you work with?
Ride alone.
And did you respond to the apartment up on 89th Avenue North?
Yes, sir.
All right. When you respond to that area, what do you initially see?
Basically, it's an apartment. There's 2 rows of apartments, and Sergeant Skinner advised me that we were trying to make contact with an individual that may be in an apartment. It was 589th Avenue North, number 7. Basically, I got with the on-site manager and inquired who had the apartment in their custody. Found the name of Miss Portia Grimmage, got a phone number for her, and called her and told her what was going on. She wasn't home at the time, kind of told her what was going on and what we wanted to accomplish. And she was forthright and very cooperative, and basically encouraged us to have the individuals in her apartment come out.
Did Ms. Grimmage give you guys consent to enter her apartment?
Yes.
All right. And when you're at the apartment, you said you're looking for one particular individual.
Yes.
And did you at that time have the name of the individual?
No. Sergeant Skinner and Detective Warzinski probably had a name. I didn't.
Okay.
I just was there to help.
Ultimately, you come to learn, I guess not too long after that,
Right.
who the individual was inside.
Right.
Who were you looking for there?
LaRon Rayford and Mr. Newton,
right.
Mont Newton.
When you arrive at the apartment, unit number 7, how many law enforcement officers are with you?
There was probably 3 or 4 about in the front, and I know there were several in the back, maybe one along the side. I remember seeing someone, everyone was behind me, so I know there was more than a couple, but I'm kind of watching the door and the window as opposed to who's behind me.
Well, were you the detective who was actually at the door getting ready to
Yeah, I was,
enter?
yeah.
All right. You said there's some detectives at the back. Was there a back entrance to this apartment?
I believe there was a back door. I'm sure there had to be a back window. That's why we would cover it. But yeah, we always try to cover the front and the back.
All right. Did you have an opportunity to knock at the door, ask people to come out?
Yeah.
Tell the jury about that.
Basically knocked at the door and didn't get any response, which wasn't real surprising. Knocked at the door again several times, announced who we were, asked the individuals to come out with their hands up, and it took a little bit, but there was some communication between mostly me and the people inside, and they came out. There wasn't any real problem.
All right. And did you personally take any one of the individuals inside into custody?
No, sir.
Who actually came out of that apartment?
LaRon Rayford and Lamont Newton came out of that
You were
apartment.
the only individuals inside the apartment.
That's correct.
After the other law enforcement take them into custody or talk to them, what is it that you do?
Basically walked down 89. I'm sure I called Miss Scrimmage back and told her what was going on, but I walked down 89th Avenue. Whenever we go do something like this, I park my car pretty far away, as not to be too obvious. So I was walking back to my car, and I saw a female sitting on the back trunk of a marked cruiser, and that caught my eye.
Why did that catch your eye?
So I just really haven't seen too many females or males even sitting on the back of a cruiser on the trunk. That was kind of caught me.
Okay. Did you have a conversation with that woman?
Yes.
All right. At the time, did you know who it was?
No. At the time, from a distance, I didn't know who it was, and then eventually I knew who it was because Warzinski and DeLuca had spoken to him earlier that afternoon.
Okay. And so who did you learn this woman who was sitting on the trunk was?
The defendant, Jennifer Mee.
All right. Yeah, you've pointed to her. Can you see her in the courtroom?
Yes, sir.
Could you identify an article of clothing that she's wearing?
White V-neck.
All right, Judge, we ask that the record reflect that this witness has identified the defendant in the case.
Any objection, Mr. Trevino?
No, Your Honor.
The record will so reflect.
All right, Mr. Gibson, she's sitting on the trunk. Do you have a conversation with her?
Yeah, just pretty, I think I just introduced myself or said, hey, what's up, or and just
Right.
casual.
And did she say anything to you at that point?
She really wanted to give Newton a kiss. She asked if I would allow
Let
that.
me ask you that. Were they bringing Mr. Newton to, I guess, another car, not yours?
Correct.
And I guess that's in close proximity to where you're at?
Yeah,
And she asked you to do what specifically?
give Lamont Newton a kiss.
Okay.
So I asked him if he was inclined.
You asked Mr. Newton
Yeah.
if he was inclined?
Yeah,
And then did he agree?
he agreed.
And did you see Miss Mee give Mr. Newton a kiss?
Yes.
All right. At that time, was Miss Mee, did you take her into custody or do anything like that?
No, sir.
All right. And to your knowledge, did you have any specific knowledge of who she was or what she was doing there?
No, I mean, she was waiting. She was waiting around. And that's why I asked her if she'd voluntarily come to the police department to be spoken to.
And did she agree?
Yes.
Did you specifically give her a ride?
No, sir.
Did you help find her a ride for someone to bring her down to the
I'm
police department?
sure I've helped.
Okay. And did you in fact go down to the police department?
Yes.
All right. And as an assist detective, did you continue to assist Detective Warzinski or the other detectives in the case?
Yes.
I said Detective Warzinski. Was he in fact the lead detective assigned in this case?
That's correct.
All right. Did you have an opportunity to interview, I guess, witnesses that were there in the case?
That's correct.
All right. And did you have an opportunity while you were there to speak with Miss Mee?
Correct. Yes, sir.
When you spoke with Miss Mee, where was she sitting in the police department?
She was on the north side of the robbery homicide office in an open area at a desk far on the north side.
Okay. The robbery office, described it, is it an office building that's got multiple individual offices, or is it kind of like an open bullpen type office with lots of desks?
Yeah, it's an open bullpen. The robbery's on the north side, homicide's on the south side. On the north side, the northwest corner is the sergeant's office, two sergeants, the robbery sergeant and Sergeant Skinner, who is the homicide sergeant, sitting there. It's a large room with an area in the middle, kind of like 50-yard line. And then there's an interview room on the southeast corner of the large room.
You're standing in this room, if you're standing on one side, someone's standing on the other, can you guys see each other?
Yes.
And if you were talking loud enough, could you hear each other?
Probably, yeah. Yeah, it's pretty much, I'm guessing, about 3/4 the size of this courtroom is the,
Including the bleacher, the
yeah,
seating back there?
yeah,
Okay, but it's an open air room?
yes.
No partitions or anything like that?
No, sir.
Are there interview rooms attached to or in close proximity to this office space?
Yes, there's one in particular, and then there's one just outside the door, and the interview rooms gather steam further, you go down the hall. Burglary has one on each side, ECU has one, so.
And you described to the jury that Ms. Mead was placed just kind of sitting in the office area?
Correct.
All right. Did you have an opportunity to talk to Ms. Mee about, I guess, a gun in this case?
Yes.
All right. I guess when you're talking to her, did you, again, at this point now, when you're speaking to her in the robbery section of the room, was she handcuffed?
No.
Was she under arrest?
No.
You're speaking to her as a witness?
Correct.
And she talks to you about a firearm, correct?
Correct.
What does she say?
Basically, that Laurent had a revolver, and he was the one that had the gun.
Okay. For the record, I'm showing defense counsel what's been marked as State's Exhibit 52. Mr. Gibson, take a second to look at State's Exhibit number 52, specifically the markings.
Yes.
Do you recognize that?
Yes.
And what is that?
This is a picture of a revolver that on the 24th of October 2010, Jennifer Mee identified and signed the photo and indicated that Laurent, the quote was, last week had the gun, and the last week he had the gun. That's why I made that in quotes. That's my handwriting. My handwriting and the date and time, 10/24/10 at 5:58 p.m., and Jennifer Mee's date and time with her initials also.
Your Honor, at this time, the State would seek to admit State's Exhibit number 52 as such.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
It's admitted.
I'm sorry, Mr. Gibson, I guess at some time after it was collected from the scene, a photograph was taken of the firearm, correct?
Correct.
And you had an opportunity to show that to Ms. Mee.
Yes, sir.
You can kind of see at the bottom, if it would help, could you? That's the way to have to stand up. Could you point to
Yes.
the area in which Ms. Mee signed it?
Yes. Right in this area. Her initials are right there. The date, 10/24/10, 5:58 p.m. That's the date, the time, and my initial, GTG. And this is the quote. This is my writing.
And what did your quote say?
Last week had gun, is what it actually says.
And you put it in quotes because that's what she said.
Yes.
And she's referring to that Laurent had that gun in the last week. Okay. Just after you showed, or had Ms. Mee identify the firearm, did you have an opportunity to take a statement from her?
That's correct.
All right. And was this statement recorded?
Yes.
And was it recorded in the same area in which you just interviewed her at?
Yes.
Okay. Time you interview her or take her statement, is she in custody?
No.
Have you placed any handcuffs on her?
No.
Was she under arrest?
No, sir.
And what was the purpose of taking her statement?
Basically, I took a tape statement from her to document it, number one. And number two, I didn't really know exactly how the dynamics of the group of people we had at the station. And sometimes you decide as witnesses to take a tape statement.
Okay. Let me ask you, as you're assisting and interviewing with me and showing the photograph, are other detectives working in the area?
Yeah, they're in interview rooms, but they're working.
Again, Mr. Rayford Mr. Newton was there as well?
Yes.
And probably you had other individuals there too?
Yeah, I spoke to 2 people that came to the front desk, as a matter of fact. So I was interviewing and bouncing down the front desk and then coming back.
Okay. So you spoke to a lot of people you've spoken to?
Yes.
And when you take the recorded statement, again, you said you recorded it, right?
That's correct.
Your Honor, for the record, I'm showing defense counsel what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 53. Detective, I'd like to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 53.
Yes.
Do you see markings on that CD that you recognize?
Yes, sir.
And what do you see?
My initials, GTG, today's date, 9/19/13 on the disc.
Did you have an opportunity to listen to the contents of the CD?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and does the, is it in fact the statement that you collected from Miss Me?
Yes, sir.
And it accurately captures the statement on there?
That's correct.
Judge, at this time, the state would seek to admit State's Exhibit 53 as such.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, it's admitted.
Permission to publish, Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
Hello, this is Attorney Gary Gibson. It's Sunday, 10/24/2010. It's about 5:45 p.m. With me is Jennifer Me, M-E-E, white female. And this is Detective Gary Gibson. We're talking about a homicide 2010-70722 that occurred last evening in the area of 5th Avenue North and 7th Street North. Jennifer, can you state your name and date of birth for the tape, please?
Could you turn it up?
Ms. Lee, you've spent now several hours with the St. Pete Police Department. Would you consider how you were dealt with today fairly?
Yes.
Okay. Were there any problems with us or anything like that? I mean, was there any problems with me or anything? Okay, cool. We're talking about a statement in reference to this shooting that happened last night. Could you tell me, I'll just basically start you out at the park. Can you move and just a little bit and just tell us what happened at the park before you get started? About 5 minutes ago, you identified a photo of a revolver, and you said a person's had that the last week, had the gun. Who's that person? Okay, you know his last name? Okay. Could you describe his height? Okay, so it's tall.
I don't think that's going to be loud enough.
Okay.
You want to stop it?
The person who has had that gun? Okay.
So if you need to, because the court reporter needs to hear it to take down every word, the jury needs to hear it. Like I couldn't hear whether it was Lamont or LaRon, and I couldn't hear some things before that. So.
Move it closer.
Yes. Well, as loud as it can be and closer. The last tape was plenty loud enough. This one is not.
Right.
And you can hear Gibson's voice. It's just the other voice that's softer.
Okay. Just one moment.
Hello, this is Detective Gary Gibson. It's Sunday, 10/24/2010. It's It's about 5:45 p.m. With me is Jennifer, me, M-E-E, white female. And this is Detective Gary Gibson. We're talking about a homicide 2010-70722. It occurred last evening in the area of 5th Avenue North and 7th Street North. Jennifer, can you state your name and date of birth for the tape, please?
Jennifer Me, 07/28/91.
Okay. Miss Me, you've spent now several hours with the St. Pete Police Department. Would you consider how you were dealt with today fairly?
Yes.
Okay. Were there any problems with us or anything like that? I mean, was there any problems with me or anything?
No, sir.
Okay, cool.
No, sir.
We're talking about a statement in reference to this shooting that happened last night. Could you tell me, I'll just basically start you out at the park. Can you move in just a little bit and just tell us what happened at the park before we even get started? About 5 minutes ago, you identified a photo of a revolver, and you said a person's had that the last week, had the gun. Who's that person?
LeBron.
Okay, do you know his last name?
Yes.
Okay. Could you describe his height?
I'm gonna say maybe 6'2", 6'3".
Okay, so he's a little bit as tall as me or so.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, and that's the person who has had that gun?
Sure.
Okay. All right, can you tell me from your perspective, while you were at the park last night, what you saw and what occurred from there?
I seen, well, when we had left from the tournament, we had walked up to the park, and at the park, the suspect was supposed to meet us, or wherever the case may be. Let me rephrase it, she was trying to meet the other Jennifer.
Okay.
Okay. LeBron had no clue that Jennifer and the suspect had.
Well, you keep calling the suspect. He's
I mean,
got
the victim,
that.
that's right,
Yeah,
the victim, I apologize.
That's all.
The victim. I didn't know they had any type of relation going on, and then when LeBron, I guess, found out that he had some type of relation going on with his girlfriend, LeBron snapped, grabbed the man up, choked him, and pulled the gun out of the book bag and put it to the man's head and told the man not to say anything and brought the man to the back of the house and shot him.
Did you hear, how many gunshots did you hear?
I heard 2.
Did you see the actual shooting happen or no?
No, sir.
What happened after the gunshots? Tell me what happened.
I didn't stay around. I left. I fled from everything. I didn't know what to do.
Who was all at the park?
It was me, Jennifer, Lamont, and Lamont.
Okay. All right. And Lamont is a friend of yours?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What was left at the scene that you know of?
A pair of Jordan Fly.
Whose were they?
Lamont.
How do you know that?
Because he's the only one that came back with no shoes on.
Okay. What else?
A black and white polo hat.
Okay.
And the gun.
Okay. You've identified that gun as the one that LeBron has had for about a week now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What was said, what did LeBron say about the incident to you specifically?
He didn't say nothing. When everything was done and over with, he said, make phone calls, we need to leave. I think I killed the man. I think I killed the man. And then that's when we all just left. Other than that, he didn't say nothing. From what I thought was really going to happen, I thought they were just going to try to rob the man, leave him alone. Then when the man tried to grab for the barrel, LeBron felt like as the man was trying to take LeBron's life, so LeBron...
Well, who's telling me that? Is LeBron, or did you see this?
I seen it. That's why I figured that.
Oh, you seen him try to grab the barrel?
Yeah, he was trying to grab the barrel when LeBron put it out to his head, and he was like, LeBron said, don't say nothing. And that's when the man tried to grab it, and then LeBron snatched back and grabbed it and put it to his head, and then brought him all the way to the back, and that's when I heard the gunshots, and I left.
Okay. Who was the aggressor?
I don't know what the...
I mean, who was the one upset? And did this guy did you see him pull up in the moped or no?
Yeah, he pulled up in, I want to say it was a blue scooter.
Was he there for any problems, or was he like aggressive, like he wanted to fight or anything like that? He was pretty...
He was coming over there to chill with Jen, I guess.
Right.
And then, like...
Who got fired up? Who got pissed off?
LeBron did. Because he asked for Jennifer, and he also was asking me because I was sitting next to Mont.
Right.
So automatically, LeBron knew that it was his chick, and snapped. He snapped and was like...
You could obviously see a change in his perspective?
Yes, in his attitude and everything.
You could obviously see a change in the way he was acting?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to add to the tape?
No, sir.
All right. This will conclude the tape. Now, the time now is about 5:50 p.m. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Gibson, at the conclusion of this statement, what do you do?
I collected the statement and went ahead and did some more interviews.
Okay. Did you have any opportunity to report back to any of the other detectives within your unit as to what specifically Ms. Mee said?
No, I might have bumped into Sergeant Skinner, but I don't remember seeing Dave or Warzinski or those guys at all.
Okay, so you have any recollection of telling them exactly what Ms. Mee said?
No.
All right. Let's talk about the interview itself. Back in 2010, approximately how many homicide interviews had you participated in?
Hundreds. I've been involved probably in 350 or 400 homicide investigations, so hundreds.
Okay. Have you in fact taken classes or been trained on specific interview or statement techniques?
Yeah.
All right. Is it fair to say that one of the techniques that you may have available to you is to confront particular witnesses with evidence?
That's true.
All right. And in this interview, you guys kind of talk about the firearm that was already been identified by her.
Correct.
Outside of that particular fact, did you confront her with any other facts?
No.
Right. How would you describe your technique in collecting the statement?
Basically, this was something that I felt at the time that she was a witness. So you can see I really didn't ask many questions because I'm just listening. I'm trying to process what that person's saying and documenting what was said. To be quite honest with you, I really don't know what's going on in the other interview room, so I really don't have a whole lot of facts to challenge even a witness on. And usually a witness just tells you what a witness sees. But I really didn't know and hadn't spoken to the other detectives to know the other bits of information to do anything but ask general questions that I did as a witness.
All right. So let's talk about some of the things that she mentions to you inside of this statement. I guess she tells you, or you kind of place her at the park.
Yes.
Because there's a park near where this occurred, correct?
Correct.
And you ask her to kind of tell you what happened.
Yes.
And she does, in fact, give you some details as to what she says happened, correct?
Correct.
I think she tells you that her, Lamont, another Jennifer, and LaRon were at the park.
Objection leading.
Okay, I can rephrase. Does she tell you who was at the park with her?
Yes.
Who does she say is at the park?
LaRon, Lamont, and the other Jennifer.
Did she tell you whether or not someone else comes over to the park?
Yes, she does.
I guess she has some difficulty in initially identifying him, whether a victim or suspect type thing.
Yeah, she used the wrong terminology, really.
Were you able to clarify that, and she understood?
Yeah, no problem.
Does she explain to you, I guess, what triggers the now violent episode that occurs after the meeting at the park?
Initially, she indicated that LaRon felt as though this new person was kind of making a move on the other Jennifers, the gist of it.
And I guess she explains to you exactly what LaRon does.
Yes.
All right. And you just accept that for what she's saying?
That's, at that juncture, that's really all I can do. I mean, that's all I was interested in doing. That's all I had to do.
All right. But you guys continue on to talk about, I guess, some of the other details. You kind of, I guess, for lack of a better term, investigate a little bit about what she's saying about who is an aggressor.
Yes.
All right. And during that time, you ask her a question about what specifically LaRon Rayford says about the incident.
Yes.
You remember talking to her about that?
Yeah.
I guess when you ask her that question, does she then offer, I guess, some additional facts that kind of change this, I guess, one man hitting on another man's woman dynamic?
Yes.
What does she tell you?
It mentions that she just thought they were going to try to rob him.
Okay. That's somewhat different than what she previously said.
That's correct.
Okay. Again, in this statement, you really don't challenge her on that, do you?
No, sir.
All right. Do you have any other facts or any other information that allows you to really challenge her about what's going on?
No, I really didn't.
Okay. Again, you said you concluded the interview and then continued, I guess, to interview other witnesses.
That's correct.
All right. Let me kind of step back for a second. I kind of forgot to ask you a question in this chronological questioning I'm doing. When you were at Mr. Bolden's house, when you were doing the next of kin notification, I asked you, did Mr. Bolden provide you some information? What information did he specifically give you as it relates to the telephone?
The telephone, basically, he said the victim left the night before with what he thought was a phone number and a name, because he raised it up because they encouraged him to go shopping. He didn't want to go shopping. He was going to leave on his scooter.
I guess what I'm asking is, did you in fact get the phone number for Mr. Griffin?
Yes, at some time we did.
May I have a moment now?
Yes.
Your Honor, no further questions of this witness.
Thank you. Cross?
Detective, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Sir, I was actually working remotely, but I was able to hear through television most of your cross-examination, or direct, so bear with me if I overlooked something. Was there a reason why you guys split up the interviews, you and Detective Wierzinski?
No, no reason. Generally, if there's 3 or 4 people and there's 3 or 4 detectives, we sometimes interview 2 to a person or 1. It just depends on the circumstance.
Okay. And it came to be that Detective Wierzinski interviewed Miss Mee within 10 minutes after you had interviewed her, right? That came to your attention afterwards?
No, I couldn't tell you a time frame, to be honest with you, because I was doing other interviews.
But you did find out, though, that Detective Wierzinski interviewed her within minutes of your interview.
You're saying that? I couldn't tell you whether it was minutes or how long it was, because I wasn't there.
But it did come to your attention, though, that he had, in fact, interviewed her at some point after you had interviewed her.
From then until now.
Okay.
But no time frame.
All right. So I understand that.
Yeah.
All right. But you guys never communicated each other. He never asked you, hey, what does she have to say or anything of that nature?
No, sir.
All right. I'm going to go back in time a little bit, leading up to the interview itself. You mentioned that she voluntarily came to the station.
Yes, sir.
And then I think you were asked, did you help her get there? Did you provide transportation?
No, sir.
How did she get to the station, do you know?
I would imagine a marked cruiser.
All right. Now, did you at the time know that she was only 19 years old?
I didn't know how old. I know looking back, I felt comfortable that she was an adult, meaning over 18, but I can't sit here and say I knew she was 19 specifically.
And my point is exactly is that you never asked her, how old are you, first of all?
Like I said, I felt comfortable she was over 18.
All right. And then your words were that she came voluntarily, but you would agree that she was transported in a marked cruiser?
I believe she was transported by the police department. I believe it was a marked cruiser.
All right. And then prior to the taped interview, there were some discussion between you and her that was not recorded?
Correct.
All right. Was there a reason why that wasn't recorded?
It was pretty brief, in an amount of just words, and that's why I introduced the photo of the gun, and then minutes thereafter I introduced the tape into the conversation.
Okay. And then when you did start the taped interview, you agree that you never read what's known as the Miranda warnings, correct?
That's correct.
And the Miranda warnings would be where you tell them you have the right to remain silent, and if you have the right to have counsel, and if they can't afford counsel, one would be appointed, and so on, correct?
Correct.
You never did that with her during that first interview?
No, sir.
In fact, you never read her what's known as her Miranda warnings at all during the course of your involvement?
No, sir.
All right. Prior to the interview, did you ask her anything about her mental health, her status, her education, or lack thereof?
She seemed about herself. I had a decent conversation. I've spoken to thousands of people, and I had no qualms or problems with how she was acting or how she responded to my questions.
I understand that. But you never asked those magic questions. Do you have any mental infirmities, any mental disabilities, anything of that nature?
I don't think I did, sir.
All right. Did you ever ask her, in fact, well, you didn't ask her if she was under any medication. Is that correct?
I didn't.
All right. No. And having done, how many hundreds of interviews did you say?
Thousands.
Thousands of interviews. But you would agree that that's something you would need to know as an investigator. I'm about to interview a potential witness, suspect. Wouldn't you want to know that whether or not they're under the influence of any drugs, alcohol, medication at the time of the interview?
Well, I'd like to think I'm a pretty good observer. And there's been several times over the course of 20 years of speaking to thousands of people that they were too drunk or high or not with it, and I don't have a problem with not talking to that person. Part of my job, I get paid to be observant, and I have to also feel comfortable when I'm sitting in here 3 years later telling you guys that she was about herself, and I don't have a problem doing that. We had a good conversation. You could hear on the tape itself, she speaks well, and we got along okay, and it wasn't controversial. So I'd have to just go with the fact that with doing the job for so long and speaking to thousands of people that I made that determination on my own.
All right, fair enough. You made the determination on your own, but never did ask her those buzzwords, those key questions. Because she may have been under some medication, you never asked it.
No, sir.
All right. Now, at some point during the interview, you asked her, have I treated you fairly? And then she paused. You recall that?
Yes.
All right, and then I think you had to ask her, did I mistreat you, or words to that effect? Or have I treated you fairly? Do you recall that?
Yes.
The pause, the hesitation, do you know what you would attribute that pause to?
No. Like I said, I'll let the tape speak for itself. I was kind of speaking on the tape like I'm speaking today, so.
Okay. I guess what I'm trying to focus on, was there anything that happened, to your knowledge, prior to the playing of or recording of the interview, anything that happened, any encounter she may have had with either you or another detective?
Well, she didn't have any encounter with me, but she was sitting by herself when I spoke to her, so I have to say everyone else was busy.
At some point during the interview, you said you've spent several hours now with the St. Pete Police Department. Do you recall that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so is it your testimony that she was within that station for several hours before the play and record happened?
I would say from, I think, 3:45 when they came out of the apartment, I'm counting that because she's sitting on the back of a car.
Okay.
So I'm probably adding some time, but 3:45 to 5:45, several hours. And that's why I phrased it several hours.
All right, and from the time that you encountered her in the back of the police car to the time we hear the start of the recording, to what extent did you have any involvement with her, where you could see her, observe her, and know what was going on around her?
Minimally.
Minimally, okay.
Yes, sir.
So you don't know if anybody else may have encountered her, another detective, another police officer? You don't know that?
No, not
All right.
positively. I don't think so, but I wasn't there.
All right. She mentions during the interview Miss Sharon. You recall that, Jennifer Sharon?
She mentions another Jennifer, I believe, is,
Okay.
yeah.
In fact, and I may have missed it listening to it remotely, but you spoke to Miss Sharon over the phone prior to the interview with Ms. Meek.
That's correct.
All right. In fact, you called Miss Sharon, and you couldn't communicate with her. It just wasn't a good time for Miss Sharon, correct?
Basically.
All right. And there was some agreement that she would call you back or you would call her back.
Objection is the hearsay as it relates to Ms. Sharon.
Sustained?
Let me just rephrase the question. Was it your understanding you would get a call from her later?
She I think the phone got hung up, so
Okay.
I don't know.
Isn't it true that it wasn't until several hours, if not the next day, that you initiated another call with Ms. Sharon?
Oh, I saw her that same day.
Okay. But you had initiated that call, correct?
I physically saw her.
All right. But there was no call back as you had understood it would happen?
No, I saw her.
All right. Did you ever, well, let me ask you this. You said you've been a homicide detective, or you were how long?
Just short of 20 years.
20 years, all right. And in your experience, having interviewed thousands of people, because the investigation was so early on, isn't it fair to say that everyone was a potential suspect?
I don't think that's I don't think that would be fair.
Okay. So your testimony to this jury is that Ms. Mee was never a suspect, as far as you were concerned?
At that time, as far as I'm concerned, yes, that's what I'm saying.
But you only had very limited information. All you had was a dead body, and that was it. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
All right. You hadn't done any other interviews. She was one of the first people you had interviewed.
She was one of a handful. I've done a handful of interviews.
But with that being said, you didn't have enough information to determine she was a suspect, but you chose not to read her what's known as a Miranda warning.
Because she was a witness at that time.
All right. Did you ever tell her she was free to leave during the interview or before the interview?
No, she came down voluntarily.
Okay. Again, but with the assistance of a police officer?
Correct.
But again, I guess the question was, Did you ever tell her, you can leave at any point during this interview? You never told her that?
No, sir.
You hadn't collected any physical evidence up until that point, correct?
Not at that time, no, sir.
And I heard you say that you had, I think, spoken to, and I forget the name, and I'll look at my notes real quick, just prior to the interview with Miss Smee, I think it was Grimmage?
Grimmage, yes, sir.
All right. Did you, and I'm just asking this, did you go to the apartment or the home where the victim had resided? Were you
Yes.
there? Okay. And that was before your conversation with Ms. Grimmage?
Yes.
All right. And did you conduct any search at all or look for any evidence or any clues at the victim's residence?
Yes, Sergeant Skinner and I did look, but it was a cursory thing, something that I wouldn't disrespect a house. Like, you just got a loss of a loved one. I wouldn't, like, turn the place upside down. I did look to see if anything jumped out at us, out at me.
Okay.
And I didn't see anything that, like...
All right, and do you recall if you saw a computer at the victim's home?
I could not say either way, sir.
All right. Did you ever go back to see if there was a computer at the victim's home?
I personally did not.
All right. You were never asked by Detective Wazinski or any other law enforcement officer connected to this case, hey, go back and let's look at that computer?
No, sir.
All right. During the course of the interview with Ms. Smee, just to go back to that point, you did tell her that you were investigating a homicide.
That's correct.
Right. Have you had an opportunity to hear any subsequent recorded interviews involving Ms. Smee?
No, I don't believe I have, sir.
Would you agree that during the course of your interview, her state of mind, or at least her appearance, was that of a calm nature? She wasn't crying or emotional?
I would say that.
All right. You would say that?
I would agree with you, yes, sir.
All right. All right. And during that interview is when she described this animosity between LaRon and Ms. Sharon, correct? Or not, I'm sorry, let me clarify that. The animosity involving Ms. Sharon, as if it was a love triangle scenario.
I'd have to disagree with that. She said LaRon was not happy, but I never really, that's it.
All right, but the reason why he wasn't happy was because of Jennifer Sharon.
Probably because the person showed up on the scooter, I'm thinking.
So your testimony is that it had nothing to do with Ms. Jennifer Sharon, or?
I couldn't tell you what he was upset about as I sit here.
But do you recall her telling you in the interview that the victim was coming over there to, quote, chill with Jen?
That's what she said.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And she wasn't referring to her, about herself, you would agree?
I would agree.
All right. And you had already spoken, or at least tried to communicate with Jennifer Sharon, right?
Correct.
So you knew there was another Jen or Jennifer?
I knew that, yes, sir.
All right. So during the interview, when she said he was coming over there to chill with Jen, you knew, or you suspected, that she was talking about Jennifer Sharon?
Correct.
All right. And then when you heard that he snapped, seeing the victim, is it your testimony you didn't realize, or that she didn't convey to you that it was because he was upset that the victim had some sort of relationship with Jennifer Sharon?
Oh, I figured that.
All right. Okay. You did suspect that then during that interview?
Yes, sir.
This interview lasted perhaps 5 minutes, correct?
Correct.
All right. Not knowing, well, you said she was a witness. Was there a reason why you cut the interview so short?
Well, I believe we were done communicating.
Okay.
And I really didn't have anything else to ask, and she was doing most of the talking, so.
All right. So at that point, were you just satisfied? You concluded your interview and you were satisfied that she was just nothing more than a witness?
That's correct.
All right. And at that point, did you advise her that she was free to leave?
I didn't say those words, no.
All right. Did you, I know that the tape ends, it ends with pretty much that you were concluding the tape.
pause or any type of concern to either alert her parents or to stop talking to her?
Absolutely zero.
Did she ever, at any time, ever mention to you any type of illness or anything that would give you some sort of pause?
No.
If she had told you that she wasn't feeling well or that she was ill, would that have given you pause to stop?
Yeah, I mean, you try to treat everyone decent. I mean, that's just the business that we're in. If you don't treat people decent.
So at no time in your interaction with her did she give you any indication that there may have been something wrong?
No.
Okay. And you were asked, it was pointed out that you never read her Miranda, correct?
Correct.
And again, that's because she wasn't under arrest at that time.
Correct.
And as we explained to this jury, your interview techniques or it was more of just collecting a statement, right?
That's what it was, really. You can listen to it.
In all your years as a detective or an investigator, has it ever occurred that someone who initially may be a witness could develop into a suspect?
It's possible.
All right. If you had indication that she was a suspect, would you have collected more facts or things to confront her with?
Oh, again, and it's just totally different. You don't interview a suspect in an open area. If they're a suspect, you go over their Miranda rights and see if, in fact, they wish to speak to you, and afford them the opportunity to either decline or decide to speak to you.
Right. When you ran into Miss Me down there on I guess up there on 89th Avenue as it relates to the police station, had Miss Me indicated to you that, yes, I would come to the police station, but I'd like to take my own car? Would you be able to take your own car?
Your Honor, I must object again to the leading nature of the question.
Overall.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine.
Did she ever express to you that she had her own mode of transportation?
No.
Okay. And as it relates specifically to the interview, she does explain who was at the park and what was going on at the park, correct?
Correct.
And she explains to you, I guess, when we now know Mr. Griffin when he arrived, right?
Correct.
And she gives you that version of the events.
True.
Within this same 5-minute statement, she also tells you something else, right?
Yes.
She also tells you and uses the term that they were going to rob him, doesn't she?
Yes.
Okay? So it's really within this 5 minutes, there were two different things going on in her statement.
Correct.
You had an opportunity to meet with Mr. Bolden, and we went over that, but there's also some questions about a computer, correct?
Yes.
Based on your conversations with Mr. Bolden and your observations with him, you feel like if you had to go back, he would have given you a computer?
Oh, if there was one there?
Yeah.
You mean Mr. Bolden?
Right.
Yeah, he was distraught, but he was a nice man.
Okay.
He was a nice man.
In the course of your participation as an assist detective and your relationship with Mr. Bolden, did anyone give you any information that would lead you to go back to Mr. Bolden and ask for that computer?
No.
One moment, Your Honor. No further questions.
Thank you. Is Mr. Gibson excused, or did you want him to remain on standby?
Remain on standby, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give you another 15-minute break. It's 2:45. We'll see you back at 3 o'clock.
Put your hands on your chair, please.
Okay. I know that I'm a lot more flexible than some judges at letting lawyers come and go, and I've said just as long as somebody with me, but Mr. Camerino, you didn't say anything to me about you wouldn't be back after lunchtime, and then the witness is on the stand and you come running in and you do the cross, which is fine, you can do the cross, but no, you know, maybe I'm just getting too old for this, but I sort of thought we were supposed to be professional in describing to each other, like, Judge, I can't be here first thing this afternoon, I have a real crisis, or may I not be here, or something. So I asked Mr. Trevina shortly after we got back together if he minded if we started without you, and he said, oh, you'd be here in a couple of minutes. Well, it certainly wasn't that, so as you note, I didn't say anything in front of the jury, nor would I, and we just are proceeding, but and I'm not going to choose to inquire of you as to what you were doing, but I'm a little taken aback that it was okay to just absent yourself for a long period of time from the trial, and I was neither asked nor even told politely prior to your decision that that was going to happen. So what I mean when I say lawyers can come and go is if somebody needs a quick comfort break, if somebody wants to go out quickly and talk to a witness. I always like to think, having been a trial lawyer for myself for some 20-odd years before I was a judge, I know how hard it is to be in trial, and so I say that trying to be courteous to the lawyers, and I'm sure no one will take advantage of that. Thank you. We'll be in recess till 3 p.m.
All rise. Court is in recess till 3 o'clock according to the courtroom clock.
I never said it. I never said it.
Yeah, well, it's similar.
Thank you. I'm just starting to get upset about everybody staying driven and
I'll be sure you don't go back.
I never said that.
This is too late. Put it in, put it in, and let it go on. Did you say 1, 2?
Oh, yeah, you're cross.
Yeah. Oh my God. What?
Get something to drink, something.
How long is the battery again?
Sure.
Can I give you some money to
I
buy?
don't know if I didn't have any cash.
Almost there. We're looking at it.
You know, what time did she say to come back? 3 o'clock. Oh, 3, okay, thank you.